Welcome to Spectrum Perspectives, real talk with parents, professionals, and autism advocates. With your host, Cindy Gellermini.
Tell me what the bill is. Stephen Komnino's law. What is it exactly?
So it provides protection through transparency and accountability. And I printed out everything that's in there, so I'll read it off because I want to make sure I don't miss anything. So it calls for if someone gets hurt, regardless of their injuries, it has to be reported to the family. And that was a big question. We wanted to be clear with it. You could foresee an injury a certain way, and I think it's serious, or vice versa. And I may think it's something minor, but you may look at it and say, no, that's not a minor injury. So it's specific. It's regardless of their injury. So they have to report all major, moderate, minor injuries related to incidents or allegations of abuse to the family within 2 hours of it occurring. We wanted it to be within an hour, but they made it for 2 hours because sometimes they don't have coverage. So we had fought so hard for this, so we agreed to that. It also calls for within 48 hours of something occurring, innocent report has to be done, and DHS representative will verify the level of or the severity of the incident. Guardians will be notified of the report that's being done and while it's being conducted, and they have the opportunity to give their input to DHS give their input. An employee, and this is very important to me on this bill, an employee or volunteer who fails to report abuse or neglect will be or exploitation, neglect and exploitation, or charges can be brought up against them. So because of my experience I had with that supervisor, he was there and he didn't report it. So even if a supervisor didn't necessarily hurt the person or see was not hands-on with that person receiving injuries, and if they fail to report it, they will also be, they're held accountable.
I know with Martha too, she had talked about that, right? That she had the woman that saw it, right? She knew that Billy was being abused, but they're afraid to report it because they don't want to lose their job.
Yeah, well, there's one caregiver that worked, and I'm sure she'll talk with you. She regrets not having done more and said more. And I don't think she works at a group home any longer.
Right.
But she gave a long, compelling testimony.
Yeah, she did. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then the bill also calls for anybody that gets hired, they have to go to be drug tested. And also once they're hired, they'll be doing random drug testings on people if they feel that they need to do that. This law provides protection for those that are in day programs as well. Also those that are supervised apartments, group homes. It also provides protection for those that are in developmental centers as well. Staff has to immediately report all incidents or allegations of abuse, neglect, and exploitation by following their facility and agency program reporting policies for reporting incidents to DDD. And then there was an 800 number set up, so if someone sees something, they could report it, and they don't have to necessarily give their name, but just that they could report it as well. So yeah, this was a 7-year uphill battle, and I'm glad we got this bill to become a law. And then 6 months after it was voted for it to become a law, then in May of the following year, DHS started to enforce it in May of 2018.
Why did it take so long? How come it takes 7 years? Is it because the way it's worded? Like, what is it? Get down to Trenton and then people raise objections to it and you have to go back and reword it and that type of thing?
There's a lot of opposers on this bill, and even including group homes and representatives of group homes. And there was one representative from a group home, and he knows who he is, and he's probably gonna be watching this. I won't say his name because I'm not gonna embarrass him. But we were in Trenton, and he was trying to get the watered down version of it. And he said to me, this would be better with the way this other version, instead of what you are all pushing for, you're asking for too much. I'm like, well, is it too much to ask for to protect someone? I said, you clearly want what's in your best interest. We want what's in our kids' best interest.
Right.
So it was, there was a lot of opposers on this bill. And at one point, this bill almost got hijacked. They wanted some legislators wanted to put this bill in the name of another parent, their loved one who had been abused, but this person was a minor. And when we started with this bill, we wanted to cover protection for everybody. But then in the interim, it wasn't DDD any longer, it was DDD and then division of family, division of children and family, and I think now it's performance. So now DDD serves 21 and older, or I think, or 18 and older, and then the other agency covers those that are under, you know,
okay.
they're, yeah.
Oh, I knew there was a change. I didn't know what it was. Okay.
So that change occurred when we were in the midst of working on this bill. And I'm not saying that change occurred because of this bill. I guess it was something that the DDD, I guess, realized it was too much for one agency to handle all of them. It was best to just, you know, have certain agency, you know, DDD handle, you know, 21 and older, and a different agency handle,
Right.
you know, under 21.
Right. All right. So good. So you persevered, you stuck with it, you saw it through all the way to the end, which is great. And you didn't quit. Well, I think a lot of people would have given up after, you know, the first year or two, would have said, forget it, this is never going to happen, and give up.
It's like, when I tell you, it was a 7-year uphill battle. It was a 7-year uphill battle. I never gave up. I was determined. So was Martha and Tom. I was determined. We were determined to make this bill become, regardless, even if it took 20 years, we were not going to walk away from this bill. We were not, because, you know, there were too many lives at stake, and you know, people were not being held accountable. You know, you want us to live in anxiety and fear. Like my son, because of everything that he went through, for the longest, he had a lot of anxiety. And to this day, at times, he'll start talking about what occurred to him. So someone may say something that may trigger a memory or a flashback of something that occurred in the past and brings them back to that place. And the anxiety starts building up. You know, thankfully, he won't have any behaviors, but the anxiety kicks in, and that we have to reassure him, Daniel, it's okay. You're okay. No one's going to hurt you. You're safe. But, you know, it took a long time. And to this day, he still has anxiety from what occurred in the past. You know, no one should have to live in fear in their own home, because that's their home, technically, right? And to be living in fear in your own home, that's like call out these places a house of horrors because of the stuff that goes on. And they try to cover it up, and it's all because of the funding. They don't want to lose funding. You know, it's just sad. Like, you know, a life is worth more than money.
Yeah, you know, the first home that Robbie was in, he had bruises on his hips, and then at one point his foot was broken. And as I listened to you and Martha, I really am wondering, you know, what really happened. And they just said, oh, we don't know. He just woke up like that. No, that's not how your foot gets broken. You know, it was the outside of his foot here, the bone on the outside, and they said maybe just it rolled over and it broke that way. But I'm almost wondering if his foot was between a door and they slammed a door, you know, or something. Like, I don't know, but they certainly weren't going to tell me. And Robbie couldn't say a word, so he couldn't tell me either. So that's who I really fear for, is the really nonverbal ones that can't tell you anything. They're just so vulnerable. I mean, it's just so easy to take advantage of them because they know that they can't tell anybody. You know?
And now we're working on different legislation, the Cray Law, but they changed, I think it's called the surveillance camera bill.
Yeah, well, I interviewed Jen, who she's pushing for Emma's law for the cameras in the buses. And she told me they've just recently changed things where you can't name a law after anyone anymore. So that's why they, you know, you're lucky you got the Stephen Komnino's law, because they don't do that anymore. So it's not allowed to be called Billy Cray's law now. Now it's just video surveillance camera law or something like that, right? But we'll still call it Billy Cray's law. Yeah. So you're involved with that. Yeah. So what's that been like, trying to get that? How long you've been working on that? Billy passed in 2017. I know that. So when did she? Billy
passed away. This law then became a law. Martha was not. Billy passed away 2 months before this law was voted as a yes for it to become a law.
Oh, Komnino's. Okay.
Yeah, before the Stephen Komnino law became a law.
Okay.
And, you know, it's sad. Martha, you know, has always fought for her son and everybody else's kid, and she couldn't save her own son. You know, I'll never forget, we were talking on a Friday, then again on a Saturday, and then she says, you know, Aileen, let me let you go because Billy's calling me. He would always call her. And she would talk, and they would talk with him. Then the next morning, get a phone call from her. And she says, Aileen, cops just left my house. I'm like, what do you mean cops left your house? She goes, Billy died. I'm like, what do you mean he died? So he apparently, he died and was dead for 7 hours. They found him dead in the closet of his group home, and they were supposed to have a caregiver with him, you know, checking up on him. Like, and the pillow had blood on it, like, and there was a hole in the wall, but they covered up with a picture frame over it.
Yeah, she told us all that, yeah.
So we were working on it for 4 years. I'm gonna express how, in my opinion, the first 4 years that we worked on this bill, I feel that the way things came down were not fair. And I say that because there was opposers, and the assemblywoman who had the bill then, who's the original sponsor of the primary sponsor of the bill, never had Martha go in to meet with the opposers. If they didn't want to include me, fine, but Martha's the mother. She never have Martha join in so to meet with the opposers like that. We could talk, you know, what are they opposing? Like, for example, when the Stephen Komnino law, Assemblywoman Valerie Huddle, when there was opposers, you know, she brought us all on a round table. The opposers came to the table, we came to, and we spoke about it. They shared their views, which I think that's the right way to do it. And I have to say, kudos to Assemblywoman Valerie Huddle. You know, she did the right thing. You know, she brought the opposers in. We all sat down. We may not have agreed on many things, but it was the right thing to do. You know, so we worked through things, and like I said, at the end, you know, we have something. We're very happy. We have legislation to protect them, but the assemblywoman that had the Cray Law for 4 years, the bill just like sat there and I'm saying it just sat there because we didn't meet with any of the opposers, or maybe not me, but at least Martha, the mother, you know, of Billy. And at the end, that assemblywoman did not win her reelection. So we spoke with Senator Durr, and I spoke with Assemblyman D. Phillips to see if they could reintroduce that bill, which they did. And I have to tell you, this bill is picking up a lot of speed. It was reintroduced this year, and a lot has been accomplished in the past few months than what was accomplished in 4 years. You know, we were just waiting, and it's just sad. I'm not going to share what I thought occurred. I'll just reserve that.
Oh, that's okay. It's just for people that don't really understand how this is all, you know, how the whole thing works. Yeah, it's very frustrating. So I'm glad that it's coming back up. And Assemblywoman Michelle Matsakudis, she's new, but she's a friend of mine, and she said that she wants to focus on people with special needs and helping them however she can. And I said, have you heard about Billy Cray's law? She said, no, what is that? Let me look into it. And she looked into it, and she put her name on as a sponsor of the bill. And she's sponsoring Emma's law as well. So yeah, so we're going to bring her on and have her talk more about the technicalities of how, you know, what an assemblywoman does, and how bills are passed and all that kind of stuff.
But, you
so
know, when laws are put into place, it's to serve every citizen in the state of New Jersey, regardless of their.
Let me tell you what I learned when Robbie, and this has to do with the cameras as well. He was in a home in Berkeley Heights, and he was very frustrated. It was like the 4th home he was in at this point, and the women there, they didn't like him, they didn't want him there, they didn't understand him. He was frustrated because they didn't understand him. So he picked up a chair once and threw it across the room, so they called the police to come, and then I came and talked to him, blah blah blah. So a couple of weeks later, I used to visit him every Sunday, and I would take him out for the entire day and bring him back. And I'd film my YouTube channel while I visit him, you know, bring him back, right? And I brought him back that night in time to go to bed, and they had started this thing there where they wanted me to sign him out when I left him and sign him back in. So when I brought him back that night, they said that one of the other members had gotten hurt and he was in the hospital. I was like, okay, I didn't think anything of it. An hour later, I get a phone call from the head office. Mrs. Gellermini, the family members of this other member are blaming Robbie, and they said Robbie hurt him, and they want Robbie removed from the house. And I said, well, Robbie didn't do it. I said, Robbie wasn't even there. He was with me all day. There's no way Robbie could have hurt him. And they said, well, we understand that, but, you know, we have to appease the family. And so we're going to move Robbie, and we're going to temporarily we're going to put him in a house in Union. But the good news is that we're building a whole new house in Summit, and we're building this house just for Robbie, and it's going to be great, but it's not ready yet. So until that house is ready, we're going to just put him in Union for a while. Okay. So first of all, if there were cameras in the house, they would have seen how this boy really got hurt, and that Robbie wasn't even there. Would have protected the innocent, right? It's not just there to show you who's guilty, right? It's not just
line, right?
Right. It would show you that Robbie wasn't there, and this kid probably tripped and fell or whatever happened, right? So anyway, when he was in Union, again, starting all over again, you know, he would test people out to see what he could get away with, you know. So he had two girls watching him and he knew he could get away with stuff with them. And he literally chased them out of the house. Okay. So they called the police. And when I talked to the manager, she had, you know, you talk about people that are like on their power trip, you know, and they don't listen and very non-compassionate and whatever. Her attitude was, well, it's my job to protect my staff. And I'm like, okay, my son has the mental capacity of a toddler. He's mentally, he's physically fragile, medically fragile, you know, and he's the one you're supposed to be protecting. Your job as staff is to protect him, to keep him safe, to care for him. But I could tell her attitude was, the staff is more important than the members. My job is to protect my staff. No. You have that backwards. That's backwards, right? So as you're telling me about the opposers of these bills, right? Yeah. I can tell that's the attitude. They're more concerned about protecting their staff than protecting these poor, vulnerable, fragile members that are living in the home. And that's backwards. It's backwards. We should be protecting these.
I want to share with you, as you're telling me this, it just brought me also, I forgot to tell you, when Danny was at the supervisor apartment, then that occurred, okay, that the caregiver, the supervisor also took Itwa into his, you know, downstairs away, okay. That was in Clifton, so I had to come from Wayne to get over there. So when I got in there, I had a key fob to get into the building, so I did the key fob, and their office was right there, right off at the lobby. And I heard when they were telling Itwa to call the police, file a complaint against my son, and to say that my son attacked him. And when I heard that, I did stand by the door, and I would love for anything to try and challenge me because they said it and I heard it. And I hear they're fabricating a lie against my son to set my son up. And they're telling him, say that he attacked you when you went to give him his medication. He attacked you. You didn't smack him. He smacked you. I mean, he smacked you. And they're working with him how to set up. So I'm like standing by the door. I'm like, oh my God, they're out to destroy my son. So I went upstairs to Daniel's apartment. My husband was there with Daniel. I'm like, oh my God, Joe, they're trying to set Daniel up. They're trying to set Daniel up. I heard them telling Itwa to say that Daniel smacked him, and they're telling him what to say. So I said, I'm calling the cops. And I was not going to do anything, you know, I was not going to do anything. But when I heard them, they're trying to set my son up, I then called the Clifton Police Department. They came out, and they were saying really your son's word against his. And we played the recording. The supervisor and that caregiver was not there, so they heard it. So they did do the reporting. We were fast forwarding. We were able to get it to the Clifton Police Department, municipal court. And from there, they transferred to on a county level. But this Itwa guy never showed up in Clifton. And when he was summoned to go to court, Superior Court in Patterson, I still have that file with the docket numbers and all that in it. He never even showed up. Like, I don't know where this guy went, but he was missing in action. Like, he never showed up. And it's like sad that you have these charges against you and you have a case against you, and you're not going to show up to court, and it's okay not to show up in court and you could get away with it because, you know. So I don't know if he was here. I don't know what his status was here in the United States. I don't know. But it makes you wonder, like, how could you, like, if it was one of us and we don't show up in court, I think they will come to our door and say, you could need to come with us to court. Like, I would think so. Like, so, and then on another occasion at that supervisor apartment also, they messed up his medication. And
yeah, I had that happen too. Yep.
No, but listen to what they did. So
but people need to know though that the medications come in these pre-packaged packages, right?
It wasn't like that yet.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, because that's to eliminate that, right? So they like the specific doses in there, and you're just supposed to mark the date each time you give it to them so that there's no messing up the medication.
So what they did was they messed up the medication and they tried to fix it. So they took so they would sign into, they had a sheet with all the medications on it, and each medication, whoever will give the medication to my son, they will have to initial that they administered the medication. So they messed up. So what they did was they duplicated what was supposed to be the right way and changed the ink with different inks, you know, with the initials and whatnot, and gave it to some of the caregivers to start shredding the previous one. Well, one of the caregivers saved it and gave it to me. I actually had it.
Wow.
The original. So again, I met with DDD to bring this up, to talk about his medication. I didn't tell him that I had the medications. I questioned the medication, not letting him know that I had this, the original one, not their duplicated one. I said, no, we'll give him his medication, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, really? I said, can I see the medication sheet? I said, well, yeah. So they pull it out, they show me, and I look at it. I'm like, wow. I said, I think I had the same one in my pocketbook. Let me pull it out. I pulled it out and I showed it to him. And I said to him, this document that I have here, this sheet that I have here, I said to him, it was given to me. You told your caregivers to shred it, and they felt bad and they gave it to me. And I still have it to this day. And if I have to release it, I will eventually release it also. So yes, I don't know if they got fined for that. I don't know how it was handled, but yeah, they it's a shame that they would do things and not be held accountable for that, because that's someone's life. Medications to help people. Like when you start tampering with medication, like, and then try to obstruct the information on it and fabricate a lie, you're talking about affecting a person's livelihood,
Yeah, you cannot mess around with those meds. You cannot. I know it happened once. I think they thought they didn't give it to him, so they gave it to him again, and he got a double dose. I was scared to death all night. I was so afraid of what was going to happen, especially with him having seizures and stuff. He takes and at night he takes clonidine to put him to sleep. That's blood pressure medication. Can you imagine giving somebody too high of a dose that lowers your blood pressure too much? I mean, you can kill somebody. You can't do that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So cameras would fix all of this. Cameras don't lie. I'm just thinking they'll find ways to cover it up, and they'll turn the power off so that the camera's not working, or they'll mess around with it somehow. They'll figure out ways to get around it.
I don't understand. Senator Vitale, okay, he's the chair of human and seniors services. Okay, he's the chair.
Okay, that's what I was talking about before, that this bill has to go through a specific section of the Senate. So Vitale is in charge of whatever this section is that this bill has to go
and
through.
Vitale has been a legislator, a senator for over 24 years.
Okay.
When the first time I ever saw him was for the Tara O'Leary, when I went with Daniel's picture. So he's very well aware of everything that's been going on in New Jersey. So it's not like he doesn't know what's going on. Right. He's well aware of what's going on, even to the point with Danielle's Law. She was abused and hurt, and at one point a caregiver on Christmas Eve, I think it was, threw scalded water on her face, and you can see her face is all burned. The parents, Diane Grabowski and Robin Grabowski, the parents of Danielle, Robin is the aunt, I'm sorry. Robin is the aunt, and Diane is the mom of late Danielle for Danielle's Law. They also went before Senator Vitale many times for that bill to become a law, and they also, DHS is also enforcing that one in New Jersey, which they have to call if someone's hurt or has a fever. They have to call 911 to get them the medical attention they need. So Senator Vitale is well aware of what's going on in New Jersey. When Senator Vitale took an oath, it's an oath to defend and to be a voice for the people. And it wasn't to be just a certain crowd or a certain population. It's for every citizen in the state of New Jersey. And people with developmental disabilities are also citizens in the state of New Jersey.
Right.
They may not be able to walk like a lot of us. They may not be able to talk like a lot of us. They may not be able to stick their hands in their pocket to give donations. They can't. They're lucky if they're able to have a job. Some of them are able to have a job, and it means the world to them because they want a purpose in life. It's important for them to be able to have a life. They have feelings like all of us. So what I'm getting is this is not something that Senator Vitale could say, like, I didn't know about this. This has been going on. It's a history of a lot going on in New Jersey, and the cameras is to protect everybody, and even to protect caregivers from being falsely accused of something, because there are people with disabilities that injure themselves. Mm-hmm. So if someone has an injury, so there you go, rewind the film and you'll see, okay, it wasn't the caregiver did anything, because there's a lot of great caregivers too out there. Right. It was that this person actually hurt themselves or really did trip, not that they're saying they tripped, but that they really did trip. That may be the case. So the cameras will protect everybody. The cameras do not lie.
Right.
Wherever you go, there's cameras nowadays.
Right.
Like,
So
just
Vital is that what's he doing? He's not opposing it, but he's just holding it up and he just won't let it come to the floor for a
he's
vote.
not listening it, right? He won't listen. I don't know why.
You think he's given into special interest groups or something, or what?
I think so. There's
Or
a
no
group.
comment. I don't know. Are you allowed to comment? I don't know.
There's one, I know for sure there's one group that they've even put it in writing, ABCD. They put it in writing that they oppose this bill. I think it has to do with the privacy. It's a privacy issue, but nowadays there's cameras all over the place. You know, just last year, our New Jersey legislators, before it became a law, they approved that the women's prison, the Etna, whatever it's called, the Etna Mahar, it's a prison for women where they were being abused, raped. From what I'm just saying what I heard. They put body cameras on the people, you know, the correctional officers that work there to protect the people, you know, that are their prisoners. Well, our loved ones also have rights and need protection also. Like, it's not a violation of privacy. It's to protect everybody, all parties involved.
Right. Yeah, there's cameras everywhere. It just is.
You have to ring on the doorbells, like, you know.
Yeah.
Everywhere you go, so that's invasion of privacy. Like, I don't get it. Like, you know, you're walking, you go to the store to, you know, and you go in the dressing room. Okay, there's cameras there to make sure that people don't steal. Like, and you know, if you know what, if you have nothing, I'm not saying you, but if a person has nothing to hide, they shouldn't have a problem with having these cameras put in place.
Yeah, no, I told Martha I had requested a camera in Robbie's bedroom. I wanted one on his bed so I could see if he was having a seizure or not, because my fear was that he would have a seizure in his sleep and not wake up. And guess what happened? Exactly what happened. But I asked for it at my IHP meeting, and my representative from DDD said, nope, absolutely not. It's an invasion of his privacy. I'm like, really? Really? I'm trying to save his life. What are you afraid that I might see him naked in his bed? Like, I've been changing his diaper since he was a baby, you know, like, I don't care. I'm trying to save his life, you know? So anyway, I support it, and Michelle knows my story, and that's why she's put her name on the bill. So we'll keep pushing.
Senator Vitale will put it up, you know, in all fairness to everybody, and even let's give the benefit of the doubt to the opposers, okay? Maybe they have certain concerns. You know, I was a councilwoman at one point, and we would have, in every town they do it, you know, and they would have a public hearing for different cases, you know, different situations, you know, cases if something has to be heard, where at the public hearing, people with different views would come to it and express why they in favor of something and why they're not in favor of it. So in all fairness to this population, okay, why can't there be a hearing put up for this bill? Let the opposers come out, present their case, let the families come out, present their case, and then we just take it from there. It's the fair and the right thing to do. Right. But that right is being taken away from them. Their voice is being taken away from them again and again and again. Like, so until this doesn't get on the floor and that it doesn't become a law, sadly, there's gonna be a lot more deaths, unexplained injuries, okay? Mysterious things are gonna occur. And sadly, on many occasions, they're going to say that the person did it to themselves, or that the person fell down, or that they're making up stories. Like,
you're a bunch of liars. That's what it sounds like from your story. There's a lot of lying going on. I just know that for most parents, probably the most common thing that I see them write on the Facebook pages and stuff, their biggest fear is what's going to happen to their child when I'm not here. Okay. And who's going to take care of my child once I'm gone? And they're all terrified to put their kids in a group home because of your stories like yours. So we need to fix it. It needs to be fixed. Parents shouldn't be living in this kind of fear. So, and I think cameras are a big part of it. To me, I compare it to, like, at the top of my road is one of those signs that the police have there that shows you your speed limit. It starts blinking at you and it says, slow down, you're going too fast, right? So what do? You immediately hit the brakes and you slow down because you know you're on camera and you're being watched, and you know, there's been times in the middle of the night where I've stopped at a light and there's no traffic coming, and I'm very tempted to just, I'll just go, there's no traffic coming. But guess what? I know there's a little camera up there. right? Or the easy pass, right? You know there's a little camera watching you and you're going to get caught. So guess what? You obey the law because you know it's there. You know, to me, it's just like it's that little check. It's like, oh, no, I better behave because somebody might be watching. I don't see anything wrong with that. I think, you know, especially in these kids are, like I said, they're completely nonverbal. They're very vulnerable and it's just too easy to take advantage of them. It just
and Bill, it's the choice of cameras. So they're taking that choice. It's not like it's being
right. You're not saying that they have to put cameras there, right? You're saying that you have the choice, so that when a mother like me says, "Can I have a camera?" they can't say to me, "No, it's an invasion of privacy." They'll be able to say, "Oh, mother requests camera. Okay."
Right.
I should be able to have, you know, all I wanted was a baby cam. Every mother puts a baby cam in their baby's bedroom. Every mom does. That's all I wanted. And for the state to tell me that I can't keep an eye on my baby is not right.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you have daycares, nurseries for toddlers.
They have cameras.
And actually, they've even taken it a step further. They give the parents a code, a certain PIN, like that the parents could, from their phone.
Right, and they can watch on their phone. They pull it up on the app. Yeah, my daughter did it. And why? Right. And why do we do that for toddlers and little babies? Because they can't speak, because they're vulnerable, because it's too easy for someone to abuse them and they can't tell you that they're being hurt. Right. So it's okay for them. Why isn't it okay for my adult son that functions as a 2-year-old? It should be the same. I should have the same right to protect him. So, all right. I've had you on here quite a long time. Thank you, Aileen, for being here. I really appreciate it.
I can't thank you enough for what you're doing. You know, this is another way of bringing awareness and for families to see they're not alone. And if families don't stick together to push for this legislation, it's just going to hurt their loved one when the time comes, because there's not going to be a camera. You know, we're trying to pave the way for our kids and other kids. Okay. And to avoid, you know, and is it going to stop all the abuse? No. Is it going to stop people from dying? No. But I think it'll slow things down, and
we can cut it back 80%. Then that's
exactly.
That's pretty good.
Exactly.
That's pretty good. Yeah. So I love bringing on parents here that are doing things to help, you know, help other families too. So I think what you and Martha are doing is huge. It's a big help, because this will help ease the minds of so many other families, because it's their number one fear. So it's the number one thing that they worry about. So if we can get that fixed, I think that's huge. So thank you for your pushiness and and your perseverance and not giving up.
We're not giving up. Oh no, we didn't do it with the other bill, and much less we're going to do with this bill. You know, Martha couldn't save her son, and she's a state-known advocate, and she couldn't save her son. So she's not stopping, and she promised her husband before he passed away. You know, her husband passed away.
Yes.
He did promise to, he actually, one of Stu's last words were to please fight for this bill to the end for it to become a law.
Yeah.
And, you know, she made a promise to him she was going to. She's doing it for him, for her son, and for all our kids. And you know what, Martha, you know, God bless her. She's in a different place in life. She could have moved on with her life. Think about it.
Yeah.
But you know what? She has such a loving and caring heart. That, you know what, she wants to save all of our babies, and she is fighting tooth and nail for all of our kids to avoid a parent getting a phone call, that dreaded phone call that she got for billing. Right.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it, and keep on pressing on.
Thank you so much, and I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much, Cindy.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
That's it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed listening and it helped you gain a new perspective. If you're interested in buying our book series, Robbie's World and His Spectrum of Adventures, the link will be in our episode description, as well as my Instagram and Facebook pages. If you enjoyed the show and you'd like more content, please be sure to hit that like button, follow us, and don't forget to leave us a great review. Thank you for joining us. Be sure to join us again on our next episode of Spectrum Perspectives.
Thank you for joining us today. Be sure to join us again on our next episode of Spectrum Perspectives.